What if Deku didn't grow up in a safe world, but escaped from a secret lab, armed with the incredible powers of Generator Rex? This is the story of a hero built, not born. It was dawn, a new day in Musatafu. In an apartment, a young man with green hair was waking up. Izuku, waking up? Opens his eyes to see that he wasn't in his room, then. It wasn't a dream, he said with his neutral tone. Flashback. Inko, Izuku. Change of plans. Izuku? Inko, you will live with me. Izuku, silence what? Inko, yes. I have an apartment here, and an extra room. Izuku, this. Inko, confused, will you have any problem? Izuku, no. End of flashback. Izuku gets out of bed, puts on some red sneakers, and checks his alarm clock. Izuku, 6:30 a.m. Early. He leaves his room and walks to the kitchen, where he finds Inko eating her breakfast. Inko, good morning, Choose, are you hungry? Izuku nods, sit down. The green-haired man walks towards the table. Inko, here you go, gives her a bowl of milk and cereal. Izuku. Inko, any problems? Izuku, no, eats a spoonful, delicious. Inko, wait. You've never eaten cereal? Izuku, shakes his head. Inko, surprised so. What did you eat? Izuku, I don't know what it was. I just know that it didn't taste like anything, and that it satisfied my hunger. Inko remembered something that happened during her training. That food, which, despite being bland, had the vitamins and nutrients her body needed. Inko, takes the little one's shoulders, I promise I won't give you something like that. Izuku, oh okay? At that moment something arose inside Inko. Maternal instinct. Both green-haired girls enjoyed their breakfast and then. Nothing, Inko was just washing the bowl while Izuku was sitting in the chair. The silence became a little uncomfortable for Inko. Inko, leaves the bowl to dry. Hey Izuku, do you want to go for a walk? Izuku? Mini time skip. Both green-haired boys were at a playground. Izuku was amazed by the amount of games and colors the place had. Izuku, wow. Inko, do you like it? Izuku, yes, despite being amazed, he still had that neutral tone in his voice. But from his dull eyes began to emerge a glimmer of life. Inko, smiles a little, come on, go play. Izuku runs to the playground equipment. First he went to the slide, where he rode a couple of times, then to the swing, and finally to the sandbox. Inko enjoyed seeing the young man's small smile, but she also felt bad for him. The fact that Ken had taken away part of her childhood saddened her, but then the sound of amazed young people brought her out of her thoughts, and she noticed that Izuku had already made a 5-story sandcastle, with its flags made of twigs and leaves. Inko, are you? Boy, wow, that's impressive. Izuku, thank you. Boy 2, what's your secret? Izuku, there are no secrets. Just moisten the sand a little and then press it down a bit with your hands. This way, the grains of sand arrange themselves to form a cement-like mixture. The children were confused by the green-haired boy's explanation, but it was to be expected since they were only 4 or 5 years old. Inko was surprised. How could a 4-year-old explain how to make a sandcastle that way? Inko. After Izuku played and talked a bit with the kids, he went with Inko to a park to eat ice cream. Inko chose strawberry ice cream, and Izuku wanted to try the mint ice cream flavor. Inko, delicious, how is your ice cream? Izuku, refreshing. Inko, but it's an ice cream. Izuku, laughs a little, try it. Inko, laughed, oh okay, try a little, you're right, it's refreshing. Izuku and Inko laugh a little. After enjoying the sunset, both green-haired couples returned home. When they saw the time, Inko decided to order pizza for dinner. Izuku was confused since he wasn't familiar with the food. After a few minutes of Inko explaining, the pizza had arrived. They both sat down and took a slice, Izuku taking the first bite. Inko, and what do you think? Izuku had plump, pink cheeks, and looked like a hamster. He also had a cute smile. Inko, seems like she loved it. After dinner, Izuku went to his room to sleep. Inko tucked him in and said goodnight before heading to the dining room. She opened her laptop and checked the information on the green-haired young man, but the only information she found was nothing. She searched and searched, but there was nothing about a green-haired boy, until she found an old digitalized newspaper about an orphanage fire. There they showed images of the victims, Izuku among them, but only the photo, there was no trace of a name. Inko, but. He didn't tell me anything about that. Could it be that he doesn't feel comfortable with the subject? She thought for a few minutes, but didn't realize that she fell asleep at the table. Izuku, Inko. Inko. Moving her from side to side. Inko, 5 more minutes. Izuku. Ignoring the green-haired girl, Izuku went to the kitchen and grabbed a box of cereal, some milk, and a bowl, and quietly ate his breakfast. While he was eating, Inko was waking up. Inko, waking up? Go to Izuku. Izuku, good morning. Inko, stretching good groan of pain. Izuku, are you okay? Inko, sore why yes, just. Never fall asleep in a chair. She continued complaining about back pain. Izuku, I see, he said as if he were a goblin slayer. Izuku continued eating his cereal while watching the green-haired girl recover from her back pain. Inko, Izuku. Can I ask you a question? Izuku stares at Inko. Inko stares at Izuku. Izuku stares at Inko. Inko stares at Izuku. Izuku, yes, neutral tone. Inko tried to calm her heart, since she didn't know how Izuku would react if she asked him the question, or if his quirk could get out of control because of his emotions. Inko, do you remember anything about an orphanage? After that question, Izuku showed no change in his neutral expression. An awkward silence filled the room, and Inko was worried as she didn't know what would happen next. She'd experienced many scenarios at work, but this moment was the most difficult. Inko. Izuku, no, he said flatly, with his neutral expression. Inko, eh? She was surprised. She felt that the atmosphere that had been formed was only to create a comical scene. Izuku, I only remember waking up in the lab, but before that. Nothing. Inko, yeah. I see, goes to the kitchen to make some coffee. It seems she suffers from amnesia. But. Could it be some side effect of the experiment? Or could some trauma have repressed her memories? Hey, what would you like for lunch today? Izuku, Pizza? Inko, nope. Izuku, ice cream. Inko, no, that will be for dessert. Izuku, insert kawaii pout. Inko blushed seeing him act like that. Inko, I already know what to cook. Minutes later. Inko, there you go, leaves the food in front of him. Izuku, what is it? Inko, it's called katsudon. Try it. Izuku takes a bite of food. Inko, how are you? Azuzu, delicious. Her eyes began to shine. Inko, I'm glad you like it, smiles. From that day on, a maternal feeling began to grow in Inko, as did the desire to protect him. After discussing it with her boss, Inko managed to adopt Izuku with the excuse of monitoring him for any strange behavior, since Izuku is the first bearer of an artificial quirk. One sunny day, in a certain apartment, a green-haired woman was having a dilemma about something for her son. On one hand, she could do it at home, but on the other, it would help him socialize. It was about enrolling him in kindergarten. But why was he in a dilemma? It was because of Izuku's quirk. He didn't know if it was safe for him or the others, so he decided to find out. Inko, Izuku. She called the green-haired boy. The young man comes out of his room. He's wearing a white short-sleeved t-shirt, black shorts, and red sneakers. Izuku, yes, Inko-san. Inko, no, I told you not to call me that. She pretended to be angry. Izuku, yes. Mom. Inko, much better, smiles. Since Inko adopted Izuku, the little one showed more emotions. Although he didn't do it very often, it was already a step. Inko, we're going somewhere. Do you want to come? Izuku, yes. Inko takes Izuku to an abandoned warehouse. Upon entering, they see the entire place littered with junk and dust. Izuku, what are we doing here? Inko, we came here to find out about your quirk. Izuku, my quirk? Inko, yes. Izuku, but. Inko, don't worry, I won't force you to teach me your quirk. But. She knelt down to be at Izuku's height. You can tell me why you don't use it. Izuku, it's just that. I'm scared. Inko, afraid? Izuku, yes. I'm afraid that if I use my quirk, it might hurt people. Inko, it's true that quirks can hurt people, I don't deny it. But that's only by choice. She hugs the green-haired man, but she can also protect them, like a hero. Izuku, hero? Inko, yes. And I'm sure you'll be a great hero. Izuku, do you think I can be a hero? Inko, yes, smiles and moves away a little from the green-haired boy. Izuku, okay, with determination I'm going to try. Izuku stands in the middle of the warehouse. Inko watches him closely. Blue lines begin to appear on the green-haired boy's legs, and metal appears from them, giving him the shape of metallic legs. Inko, I'm incredible surprised. Izuku, let's see. He starts walking slowly and then kicks a couple of times and jumps. Yes, they work. Inko, impressive, then her quirk allows her to manifest machines from her limbs. Tell me, what else can you do? Izuku, So far only this, and something I can't handle yet. Inko, can you show me? She sees that the green-haired boy was a little scared. Don't worry, I'll help you if something goes wrong. Izuku, okay. Izuku makes his metal legs disappear and then creates turbines on his back. He tried to fly with them, but because he couldn't control the power, he was thrown towards the ceiling. The fear of crashing caused the turbines to suddenly shut down, causing his speed to decrease, and he was just inches from the ceiling. He then began to fall, but Inko managed to catch him in midair and land successfully. Izuku, Mom. Inko, are you okay? Izuku, why yes. Inko, it's a relief. After the incident, Izuku continued practicing controlling the techno-turbines. Despite nearly colliding with walls and ceilings a couple of times, he managed to control their speed somewhat. Inko, he certainly has potential, smiles proudly at her son. The hours passed and both green-haired men were returning home. On the way they began to talk. Inko, tell me Izuku, would you like to go to kindergarten? Izuku, What's that? Inko, it's a place where you learn and make friends. Izuku. Inko, what do you say? It'll be fun. Smiles. Izuku, okay. I'll try. Inko, fine, I'll sign you up right here. But be careful with your quirk. Izuku, yes. The day ended without any problems. Izuku attended kindergarten and was able to improve his social skills. There, he met an ashen-haired boy named Katsuki Bakugo, with whom he managed to get along somewhat despite his prideful personality, caused by his explosive quirk. 9 years later. Years passed, and our young green-haired boy was in his second year of high school. He was considered one of the best students in school, but despite this, he maintained his kind personality. Thanks to his mother, he had developed more confidence and ability to socialize, as well as said personality. With the Midoriyas. Izuku, thanks for the food, Mom, I'm going to school now. Inko, take care, Izuku. By the way, I'll be back late today, so here, she gives him some money, so you can buy something. Izuku, thank you, accepts the money and gives him a hug, goodbye, walks to the door and leaves. Just as he left, Inko's phone rings. Inko, answers the call. Yes. Yes, in 20 minutes I will give you the monthly report on the young man. Yes. Yes, okay, hangs up the phone. Sighs, I should have accepted the office job, discouraged. With Izuku. The young man was walking to school. He had plenty of time to spare, as he had gotten up too early. As I walked I saw the different houses, their colors, plants, etc. Writing is also tiring XD, when suddenly I heard the explosion coming from the backyard of one of the houses. I was going to check if it was an accident. Izuku, how strange, none of the neighbors were alerted. Hey kid. Izuku turns to see who called him. It was a tall man in his 30s with brown hair with a few gray streaks. You want to go see, right? Well, you shouldn't worry. These explosions happen 7 or 9 times a week. Izuku, huh? Exclaimed confused. If you want, go, but at your own risk. Izuku shuddered a little, but decided to check things out. He entered through the front of the house and crossed around the side to the backyard. When he arrived, he saw a young woman with pink hair wearing a black tank top and baggy green pants, covered in black stains. In front of her was a pile of smoldering scrap metal. Izuku, are you okay? He approaches to check on the girl. Who are you? Izuku, sorry for dropping by your house. My name is Midoriya Izuku. Midoriya? What brings you here? Izuku, the explosion was sudden. I thought someone was hurt. Oh, don't worry. I'm just blowing up my baby. Izuku, shocked, a baby exploded? Yes. Look, pointing at the pile of scrap. Izuku, Huh? I was trying to create a propellant, but it exploded. Izuku, I understand. He was still confused. I already imagined something worse, he thought while his face was somewhat blue. Ah, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Hatsune Mei. Nice to meet you. Izuku, it's a pleasure, Hatsune. Mei, saw the pile now to wait another month. Izuku, what for? Mei, you see. I used up almost all the materials and my mom wants me to be a little more responsible when making babies. She smiles embarrassed while scratching the back of her neck. Izuku had a drop of sweat on his temple, as he noticed some junk in a corner of the garden. Izuku, I wonder how many inventions he made? Mei, I can make another prototype, but I need a turbine. Izuku, turbine? I think I can get you one. Mei, really? Izuku, yes, I just hope it doesn't hurt. Mei, where did we get it? Curious. Izuku, here points to his back. Mei? Izuku moves away from the pink-haired girl and generates some techno-turbines. Mei, wow. Izuku, ready. Can you take them out? Mei, looks at the wings a little. I can, but won't it hurt? Izuku, no. I think hesitating. Mei approached the green-haired man's back, her tools at hand. She was still hesitating about doing it. Izuku, could you do it? I don't have much time. Nervous. Mei, sorry, stop thinking about it. Izuku, don't worry. Light smile. Mei began to carefully cut the turbines and after a few minutes she managed to separate the turbines from the wings. Mei, done. Didn't it hurt? Izuku, no, I didn't even feel it. The wings disappear. Will those work? Mei, yes, they are perfect. Thank you. Izuku, no problem. Izuku says goodbye to Mei and she begins to disassemble the turbine, but a mistake is made that causes it to open and fires a projectile into the sky and then falls towards the pink-haired girl. The green-haired man saw that and ran to save her. Izuku, approaching Mei, damn. If I get there. Izuku steps in front of Mei and takes the hit. A cloud of smoke completely covered the backyard, and when it dissipated, the green-haired man was seen with a slightly broken robotic arm. Mei, Midoriya? Izuku, are you okay? Mei, why yes, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Izuku, what a relief. Looks at his arm but Mei, great. Does your quirk also allow you to create machines in your limbs? Izuku, something like that. No, it's exactly that. But I thought you'd notice sooner. You know, when I gave you the turbine. Mei, I was so focused on how to use it that I didn't think much about it. By the way, can you come over later? Izuku, of course, why? Mei, I'd like to test the turbine on my new invention. And I'll need help in case things go wrong. Playing with her fingers. Izuku, okay, I'll come back later. Looks at his phone and sees the time. Damn, now I'm really going to be late. See you later, Hatsune. Mei, sure, see you. She says goodbye to the green-haired boy and then continues with her baby. At school. Some young people were paying attention to the teacher, who was about to give his class. Teacher, okay, young people, for today's class. Boom, sound of door opening loudly. Izuku, sorry for the delay. Teacher, just in time. Sit down. The class continued normally. Physical education class. The boys were jogging around the schoolyard because they had to warm up. PE teacher, okay, guys. For today's class, we'll do. PE teacher, mock battles. Boys, what? Boy 1, why? PE teacher, the truth is. You are a couple of years away from choosing the high school you want, whether you want to be heroes or not. I want to give you my support in some way when you have to train. And for those who did not study the hero career, it will help them in self-defense. Boys, sensei about to cry. Everyone was on the verge of tears except for two. Katsuki Bakugo, who had listened to his sensei but didn't care, and Izuku Midoriya, who was thinking about something else. Izuku, I hope he didn't blow it up. The teacher explained the rules to the students. 1 versus 1 combat. 2 if they leave the arena or surrender, they are out. 3 it is forbidden to poke the eyes or hit the male vital area XD. 4 the use of quirks is allowed. Using white chalk, the teacher created a 10 by 10 square to simulate a ring. The mock fights began, some were outstanding and others not so much. Bakugo won each fight with his quirk while Izuku defeated them with takedowns and evasions, without using his quirk. Bakugo, staring at Izuku, why doesn't he use his quirk? It pisses me off. The girls, who play sports at the other end of the schoolyard, were watching the matches. After a few minutes, everyone was about to watch the final match, although the boys were whispering execution. On one side of the ring was a pale-haired boy with a murderous look and an explosive personality named Katsuki Bakugo. On the other side was a green-haired boy with a serene look, a kind personality, and a calm demeanor despite the situation he found himself in. Teacher, are you sure about this? Midoriya? Izuku, looks at his hand. Yes. Teacher, well. Fight. He gave the signal and it began. Bakugo attacks Midoriya, but he dodges it and takes Bakugo's arm to bring him closer and hit his stomach with a knee, but the ashen-haired boy doesn't back down and throws an explosion at his torso. They both separate and prepare to continue but. Teacher F, ready, stop. Bakugo, what? But I'm not done with him yet. Professor F, sorry Bakugo, but. Bakugo, shut up. Goes to Izuku, come on, you bastard. Runs towards the green-haired boy. Bakugo was about to launch an explosion but. Boom. What sound quality. Within seconds, Bakugo was on the ground, unconscious, and the green-haired boy was standing in front of the ash-haired boy using his techno arms. But. How did he defeat him so quickly? Well. A few seconds ago. Bakugo, shut up. Goes to Izuku, come on, you bastard. Runs towards the green-haired boy. Slow motion start /. Bakugo was approaching Izuku, he just raised his arm pointing his fist at the ashen-haired boy and then generated the techno arm. In that millisecond that was generated, due to the momentum, a swift blow landed directly on Bakugo's face, leaving him unconscious. End of slow motion /. Back to the present. Izuku was called by the teacher as they took Bakugo and his victims to the infirmary. Professor, that was amazing, Izuku. I see you had a quirk after all. Izuku, neutral, did he doubt? Teacher, ha, not at all, in fact, you were amazing. The reason why he said that was because during his school life Izuku never used his quirk, so some believed that he didn't have a quirk. After that, classes continued as normal. Bakugo's victims had recovered from their burns, but the ashen-haired boy was still unconscious. At the end of the day, Izuku found himself at the entrance of the school. Hey! Izuku turns to look, it was Bakugo who had a band-aid on his nose. Bakugo, listen to me. Walks towards the green-haired boy, passing by him will have a rematch someday. Do you understand? He shouts at the green-haired boy and then goes home. Izuku walked in the same direction as the ashen. Less than 10 minutes later. Bakugo, red vein on forehead, sign of anger, why the hell are you following me? Izuku, your house is in the same direction as mine _. After saying that, they both walked away without sharing any more words, until they reached their respective houses. From that day on, Izuku and Bakugo barely spoke. There were times when the little red-haired boy wanted a rematch, but luckily the teachers showed up at just the right moment. Izuku also began to get along with Mei, although she sometimes used him as a test subject for her babies. In a small forest. Izuku, I still think it's a bad idea. Mei, come on, you already accepted. Izuku, regretful, you only told me to do you a favor, knowing it was about this I wouldn't have accepted it. They were walking through the forest, since Mei's invention would be very dangerous in a crowded area. Izuku, and if you try it. Mei, I can't. I wouldn't be able to spot the mistakes if I used it. Izuku, yes you can. Mei, come on Tilda, you already told me yes, she said, making sad eyes. Izuku, okay, I'll do it. Upon reaching an open area, Izuku carefully places a backpack that Mei's baby was carrying on the ground. The pink-haired girl takes a bunch of pieces out of the backpack and assembles them, forming a board. Izuku, so. Is this it? Mei, why that humor? Pouts, this baby is based on the design of that American time travel movie with the DeLorean. Izuku, ah, that one. So it uses anti-gravity? Mei, no. I took the turbines and reduced their size to place them on the tips of the board to float, and to propel them I placed a pair of rockets. Izuku, wow. I must admit you're great, Hatsune. Mei, smiles. Izuku, okay. Let's try it. He gets on the board and puts the safety on one foot. May, wait, here, she hands him some orange goggles. You'll need them to see in this. She gives him a black control with 2 buttons, green and red. With this you'll turn it on. Izuku, thanks. Here we go. Izuku turns on the device and begins to slowly rise, then moves at high speed through the air with the help of the thrusters. May checks the board speed with a meter, and the result is 40 kilometers per hour. May, okay, the board is working normally, and no faults are seen. Izuku, hey May. How do I turn this off? May, press the red button and the turbines will slowly turn off. Izuku, okay. Izuku presses the red button, but the board doesn't turn off. Izuku, but what? The board began to slowly gain speed. May, oh, she said with a drop of sweat on her temple. Izuku, this is bad, I have no control over the speed. I should stop it, but... May, Midoriya. Izuku? May, if you can't stop it, destroy it. Izuku, but... May, no buts, just do it. Izuku was in a dilemma. If he didn't destroy the tablet, something might happen. But if he destroyed it, all the work he'd done would be lost. Izuku, let's go with option 3. Izuku creates the techno arms and destroys the thrusters, rising only with the turbines. He then creates the techno turbines and makes it propel him to the opposite direction of the board, but due to the power of Izuku's turbines he manages to slowly descend to May's height. Izuku, turn it off. May disconnects the board from its power source, thus managing to turn off the device. May, are you okay? Izuku, phew, that's a relief. Don't worry, I'm fine. May, I should say that. Izuku, well, at least. He couldn't finish speaking because he mistakenly didn't remove the footlock that allowed him to use the board without falling and fell on Hatsune, causing both of them to tumble to the ground in a heap. Izuku, ow. Sorry. Are you okay? May, yeah, you're heavier than you look. Izuku, my bad. I should have been more careful. May, next time, I'm the one testing it. They both laughed awkwardly as they stood up and dusted themselves off. After collecting May's baby propellants, they both went to the pink-haired girl's house, since it was getting dark and it would be dangerous for her to go home alone. After leaving the pink-haired girl at her house, Izuku goes to his own, but a couple of thoughts wandered through his head. Izuku, I hope she's not angry. Now that I think about it, the techno fist suddenly appeared. Could it be that I have more weapons? His thoughts wandered even when he got home. His mother saw that the young man was distracted, so she decided to help him. Inko, serves the food. Tell me, Izuku, how did it go with your little friend? Hearing that, the green-haired boy remembered 1x. What happened with May, causing her to blush? Inko, oh my god, why do I have the feeling I want to annoy him more? Izuku? Izuku, well. Embarrassed and blushing. Inko couldn't stand it any longer and hugged him, since the little green-haired boy's attitude. Meanwhile, at May's house. Mrs. Hatsune, daughter, come down for dinner, she exclaimed, calling her daughter who was in her room. The pink-haired girl had heard her mother's call. May, I'm going. She leaves a tool and a broken propeller on her work table. Looking at it, she remembered what happened with Izuku, causing a slight blush. A few days had passed since the problem with the hoverboard prototype. Young Izuku was walking to school when, without realizing it, he passed in front of May's house. Izuku remembers what happened in Chapter 3, continues walking when. May, Midoriya? Izuku, huh? Hello. Hatsune laughs nervously. May, are you going to school? The green-haired boy nods. I'll go with you. Izuku, huh? They were both walking together, with an awkward silence in the air, at least for the green-haired boy. Izuku, wait a second, why aren't you at school? May, well. The truth is. My school is closed for repairs. Izuku, I understand. What did you do? May, why do you think I did something? It offends me. Pretends to be offended. Izuku, because someone innocent wouldn't hesitate. May, well. Let's just say. I brought a prototype for an invention, and while I was fixing them on my break. Izuku, lost control. May, he scratches the back of her neck in embarrassment, but now I know what the fault was and I will make it again. Izuku, sigh. I understand. Just don't destroy anything along the way. May, I don't promise anything optimistically raises her thumb. Izuku, underscore. Well, I have to go. Good luck. He walks away saying goodbye. May, see you later. After watching him walk away, she calms down a bit. Why is my heart beating so fast? Izuku had arrived at school and went straight to his seat in the classroom. Izuku. Hello Midoriya. Izuku is surprised but then sees that it was his friend. Oh, hello Kaminari. Yes, Kaminari Denki. The way they became friends was very simple. Flashback 1 year ago. The green-haired young man was walking along the side of the school building toward the exit. Along the way, he encountered a blonde-haired young man struggling with a vending machine. Damn piece of tin, give me back my money. Angrily activates his quirk and was going to attack the machine but notices Izuku's presence. What are you looking at? In a hostile manner. Izuku. The green-haired man walks up to the machine and hits the side 3 times with a determined rhythm, causing 2 cans of grape-flavored soda to fall out. Izuku takes both cans and gives them to the blonde-haired boy. Avoids damaging school property. Resumes his way to the exit, but... Hey! The green-haired boy turns around and quickly takes the can that the young man threw at him. What is your name? Izuku, Midoriya Izuku. Kaminari Denki. Nice to meet you. They both smiled and went back on their way. From that day on, they met and talked a little, to the point of becoming friends. When they moved to 2nd grade, the boys discovered they were assigned to the same class. End of flashback. Izuku, how's everything going? Kaminari, if you're referring to today. Nothing new. I got something for you. Izuku, discouraged. Don't tell me. Kaminari, yes, from a bundle of letters, tied with a ribbon. I think there are about 10. Izuku, og sighs, rests his head on the table and receives the letters from his friend. Kaminari, honestly, I'd like to be in your shoes. Izuku, then here, he gives him back the bundle but the young man rejects it. Kaminari, don't even think about it, they'll kill me if I show up. Again nervous with Vietnam memories. Izuku, ha ha ha, just kidding, smiles a little. Kaminari, by the way, how are things going with Bakugo? Izuku, if you mean that he still seeks revenge and yells shiny when he sees me. The same. Kaminari, he's really frustrated about losing. Izuku, I think he's more frustrated by how he lost. Kaminari, thinking it's possible. Shiny. Izuku, speaking of which. Bakugo fiercely opens the classroom door and storms toward his seat. His behavior has been getting worse for a few days, even. Bakugo, hey Midoriya. Rematch. Izuku, and we continue with that sighs and rests his head back on the desk. Classes had ended and Kaminari was with Izuku, drinking on a bench. Kaminari, and? How did it go? Izuku, sighs tiring. Kaminari, I thought you would accept the feelings of at least one girl. Izuku, it's just that. I don't think about it much now. Kaminari, well. And what will you do with Bakugo? Izuku, I'll ignore it. I'll probably forget about it in time. Kaminari, laughs a little. I doubt it, friend. Izuku, don't summon bad luck. Kaminari, ha ha ha. Kaminari spreads a little laughter to Izuku, then takes a walk in the park. The place had a skate park, and they enjoyed watching some of them perform tricks. One of them, with a reptile-like quirk, used his tail to enhance said tricks. Izuku, isn't using quirks supposed to be illegal? Kaminari, yes, but he has the mutant type. It's hard to say whether he used it or not. Izuku, but it's too obvious. They both chatted for a while, and when the skaters had left, Izuku and Kaminari took advantage of the bug and climbed to the top of the half-pipe, to enjoy a bit of the view of the sunset. Kaminari, this place is great. Izuku, you're right. Kaminari, you should bring a girl here, dude. She'll fall in love with you instantly. Izuku, you've been talking a lot about girls lately. What's wrong? Kaminari, I want a girlfriend, pretends to cry and then returns to normal. I'm jealous of you, you have them all at your feet. Izuku, ha 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 ha, I don't know what you're talking about. Kaminari, don't act like it. You get several love letters a week. Izuku, sighs, they're probably just playing or making a bet. Kaminari, a week? Underscore. Izuku. Kaminari, why don't you accept someone? Do you already have a girlfriend? Izuku, no, dryly. Kaminari, then. Izuku. Kaminari, do you? Swing that way? Izuku, no, dryly again. Kaminari, are you listening to me or do you really like the scenery? Izuku, yes, I can hear you, and I like the scenery watching the sunset, after all. I could never enjoy one, remembering his time in the lab. Kaminari, by the way, what does your quirk do? Izuku, weren't you in PE? Kaminari, I was sick that day, laughs nervously. Izuku, sighs, well, I can generate machines with my quirk, creates some techno fists for a few seconds and then deactivates it. Kaminari, and you can't create a vehicle. Izuku, I can create turbines. Kaminari, great. It would be great if you could use your quirk freely, so you could get anywhere on time. Izuku, hey. I think there's a while to go before that. Kaminari, and why don't we help out at the UA Academy? Izuku, you mean become heroes? Continues watching the sunset. Kaminari, exactly. By the way, what else can you generate with your quirk? Izuku, turbines and boots. Kaminari, great. With stars in his eyes, can I see? Izuku, we can't use our quirks in public. Kaminari, right. Wait, I know where we can use them. Izuku, really? Confused. Sudden change of scene. Izuku, it can't be, he thought when he saw where they were. Kaminari had taken Izuku to the forest, more specifically the same place where he tested one of Mei's experiments. Kaminari, this place is far from the houses, so we can use our quirks whenever we want, smiles. Izuku, how did you find this place? Kaminari, that doesn't matter. Now, show me your quirk, excited. Izuku decides to show him his quirk. It started with the techno boots. Kaminari hits the boots with a branch, proving that they were really made of metal. And durable. Then he continued with his fists, hitting a tree and managing to knock it down. It was the techno turbine's turn. Izuku had successfully generated them and was about to fly, but then he notices some strange sounds coming from the trees. Izuku observes where it comes from, and then a gray blur appears moving at full speed. Izuku doesn't think twice, takes one of Kaminari's arms and takes flight with the techno turbines. Kaminari, what is that? Izuku, I don't know, but he's aggressive, serious. Both boys looked closely at the creature. Its brain was exposed, its skin grayish. It was muscular but also skinny, it had bulging eyes and a beak for a mouth. Izuku, perhaps. Kaminari, it's I&K, a humanoid chicken on steroids? Confused. They continued to watch the creature closely, but it sees them and points its palm at them. Kaminari, why are you targeting us? Or rather, what are you trying to do? Izuku, I have a bad feeling. From the creature's palm, a leaf grows until it reaches Izuku, or more specifically, the turbine. Said leaf jams the turbine, causing Izuku to begin to lose control and fall. The green-haired man manages to soften his fall, but his landing is still rough. Izuku, are you okay, Kaminari? Getting up in pain. Kaminari, yeah. That was nothing, pained, brushing some dust off his clothes. The creature begins to approach both young people. Izuku, what's wrong with that guy? Kaminari, he's probably a criminal. The creature continued to slowly approach them. Kaminari, we must run away. Stands up and tries to walk away. Izuku, no. Kaminari stops. Izuku, if we do, it's likely to reach the residential area. Then it would hurt innocent people. Or worse. Kaminari remains crestfallen as he thinks about the consequences. Izuku, I have an idea. Go for the heroes, I'll try to stop him. Kaminari, but. Izuku, do it, don't worry. The blonde thought about it for a bit and decided to listen to Izuku. He headed toward the street, but the monster pointed its hand at him and pulled out a knife that was heading his way. But Izuku held the knife in his techno arm. Izuku, your fight is with me. The villain doesn't respond and decides to attack Izuku with the blade. Izuku manages to narrowly dodge it and hits the creature in the face using his techno arms. But when he does, the creature doesn't flinch and hits the green-haired man directly in the stomach, causing him to spit saliva and fly to crash into a tree. Izuku, groan of pain. The creature slowly approaches the green-haired boy. He couldn't even move due to the pain, but he still got up. The creature quickly attacks, hitting the tree. Apparently, the green-haired boy had disappeared and begins to search for it when he hears the sound of something falling. The chicken looks up and sees the sole of a boot. It was Izuku who managed to jump in time to then land and crush the monster with a techno boot. Izuku, I knocked him down while loses his balance. The creature takes the techno boot and slams Izuku a couple of times on the ground before throwing him into another tree. Izuku coughs up some blood, rapid breathing. Well, at least Kaminari will be okay. Izuku sees how the creature approaches him and decides to close his eyes to wait for the final blow. But the sound of a stabbing is heard. The green-haired man opens his eyes and sees the static creature, then turns around, showing a dagger on his back. Izuku, but what? There she was, Inko Midoriya, wearing a special combat suit, with a pair of swords and her belt with daggers. Izuku, ma? Inko, Izuku, how are you? Izuku, I'm fine. Inko nods and focuses on her enemy. The creature quickly approaches the young woman. She dodges the attack and slashes at its arms, but the cut couldn't be deep because she managed to create a blade to prevent further damage. Inko, does this thing have consciousness? The creature quickly runs toward Inko and attacks her, but she manages to dodge it by stepping back and then throwing daggers, hitting 2 in her legs and 1 in her arm. The creature becomes enraged and attacks again, this time landing a blow, but she manages to minimize the blow, although she still takes damage and is sent crashing into a tree. Inko and the creature continued to fight, but she lost the advantage over time. Izuku, I must help her. But how? Inko, groan of pain, holds her left arm. Damn. Broken. There she was, the green-haired girl was behind a tree, hiding from the creature. Inko, watch carefully, she doesn't seem to be in pain. It could be a quirk or a fault in her nervous system. She also seems to have fighting instincts. What do I do? Reinforcements will arrive in 10 minutes. She was thinking calmly, but then she felt something and jumped from that tree to another, dodging a blade that pierced the tree. The creature saw her. Inko, I have no choice. The green-haired girl runs toward the creature. It attacks her with a pair of blades, but Inko jumps in the moment and uses said creature as support to reach the other side and places herself behind another tree. Then, she uses her quirk and attracts the creature towards the tree, using the knives that she previously stabbed in it. Thus, she manages to keep it trapped using the tree and attracting its arms and legs, which are in arms and legs. Inko, maintaining it is difficult. The creature, despite the throwing daggers becoming more embedded, kept trying to free itself. Inko, little more. Boom. Inko. She was shocked, as a rock had been thrown at the creature. It was weakening, so the attack had affected it. Inko, from where? Izuku, mom. Inko, looks at her son Izuku. There he was, the green-haired young man barely standing, with a cannon on his shoulder. Inko was amazed to see her son's creation. Izuku, hold it a little longer. I'll weaken it with whatever I can. Inko hesitated for a moment, but there was no other option. And so they continued, weakening the monster by firing multiple projectiles at it. When the reinforcements arrived, they saw the place which was destroyed, and both green-haired men exhausted, lying on the ground near the creature who was unconscious. Agent, good work, Agent Midoriya. Who is the child? Inko. My son. He got involved with a friend. Agent, I see. Can you tell me the name? Inko, don't worry, I'll take care of it. The blonde was looking for a hero, and when he finally found him, he was about to approach for help, but then a message arrived on his phone. It was a message, which in short, was from Inko telling him she found Izuku by the noise and the creature had disappeared. The green-haired boy will be in the hospital for a few days. Kaminari. Inko, how are you? Worried. Inko was at the base where she works, in the medical wing. Izuku was in a kind of capsule, with some electrodes connected to him. The doctor present had red hair. Doctor, surprised, tell me, did your son fight the creature? Inko, why yes. Doctor, look, shows Izuku's nanates on the screen, apparently his artificial quirk, his nanates, can heal his wounds, although it is slow. Inko, that means. Doctor, if it weren't for his nannies, he could have died. Inko looked relieved as she watched Izuku unconscious. Doctor, places her hand on the green-haired woman's shoulder, don't worry. She'll wake up in 2 days. Izuku, Doctor, or in less than a day. Izuku, Mom. Inko, Izuku. Doctor, you must be dreaming. After some medical explanations, both women went to the bar located in the building. 2 jugs of beer later. Doctor, who would have thought? Inko Midoriya has a son. Inko, why does it surprise you? Doctor, it's just that when we were young recruits, you always said that having a partner was a waste of time, and that having a child would be an anchor for your plans. In short, you were cold. Inko, ah. Doctor, and look at you now. You adopted a child, and you chose an office job with the option of taking on missions to take care of him more. Inko, well. Slightly embarrassed. Doctor, now that I think about it. Weren't you dating that guy? What was his name? Inko, Liz. I don't want to talk about it, depressed. Liz, oh, sorry, sad. Inko, don't worry, it's just. Izuku seemed to need a mother. And, hearing him call me mom felt warm, she places a hand on his chest. Liz, giggles. Inko looked at her confused. That's maternal instinct. Inko blushes in embarrassment and looks away. Liz, giggles on target. As the 2 women spoke. Medical wing. Izuku was still in the capsule, but his heart rate and brain wave meters were high. He seemed to be having a nightmare, one he hadn't had in a long time. The nightmare was about him and his former friend, Hajime. This nightmare repeated the events of that day over and over again, but at the end of each repetition, he heard a voice say, "It's your fault. Izuku, grown enough." The heart rate monitor increases. Izuku, enough. Brain wave meters increase. Izuku, enough. Izuku opens his eyes, which were shining, and his body began to manifest machines, freeing him from the capsule and destroying it. The alarms sound, everyone runs to the medical area where the disaster originated, and upon arriving they noticed that the walls of said wing were completely destroyed. Inko, what happened? Agent, it's unknown, only an explosion was heard and the alarms went off. Inko, looks around and Liz? Confused. At the bar. Liz, and do you know how many hick people I have to hick serve a day? She was completely drunk, talking to her reflection in a mirror. With ink. Inko was looking for Izuku among the rubble, but then she sees a silhouette outside the building, noticing a creature that was static looking at the sky, to then turn to the building and see it. Inko, what? Agents, is that it? A giant creature, it seemed both mechanical and biological at the same time just by looking at it. Inko wakes up and uses the communicator in her ear. All agents, bring in heavy artillery and activate red alert. We are facing a biomechanical creature. She repeated the last thing and went in search of her equipment. Minutes passed, the creature was about to leave the property of the agency where Inko works. But then a number of tanks appear to attack the creature. The tanks fire and hit the creature, but it takes no damage. In response, it attacks the tanks with cannons located on its shoulders, destroying between 5 and 10 of them. While the battle develops, Inko and some agents were in a helicopter towards the biomechanical creature, ensuring enough distance to be able to land on the creature's shoulder. There, Inko successfully cuts the barrel of the biomechanical creature with her katana, but upon seeing the cannon up close, she immediately recognizes the design. Inko, no. Izuku? The biomechanical giant begins to move abruptly, causing the green-haired girl to fall, but she manages to stick her katana near his shoulder blades. The tanks and trucks kept coming, firing their full arsenal, but they could barely damage the creature. In response, the giant aimed one of its functional cannons and fired, causing a lot of destruction. Then, it pulled a double-edged blade from its wrist, which it used to destroy the rest of the vehicles. As Inko tried to climb back onto the shoulder, her communicator activated. Agent, communicator, there is no other alternative, we must use the prototype. Agent 2, communicator, we can't. It's still in the testing phase. We don't even know if it can shoot. Hearing this, Inko worried about what might happen if they used that weapon on the boy. So, she resorted to improvisation. She searched her belt and found a prototype electro grenade that was a gift from a friend at the armory. Determined, Inko used her katana as a platform and leapt straight for the giant's neck. Upon arrival, she stabbed a dagger to grab onto the ground and planted the electro grenade. Inko sets the timer ready, 10 seconds. She was about to get off, but the giant managed to catch her. He stared at her for a few seconds, and then the grenade exploded. A bolt of lightning landed on the creature's spine, causing it to begin to decline, but before that, he connected with the hand he was holding Inko in and fired said fist at the agency, specifically at the medical wing. The robot fell, being defeated. The agents were investigating the corpse, while, in the medical wing, Inko was coming out of the creature's hand. Inko, stretching, it hurts. trying to relieve a wound. She sees from there that they were inspecting the giant's body, worried that they would find Izuku. But she hears the sound of some debris moving. She turns towards the hand and recognizes some hair sticking out. She goes to help him. He was unconscious, but fine, with slight scratches. Inko, we must go. She carries Izuku on her back, and on her way out she avoids the sight of other agents until she can reach the parking lot. There she puts Izuku in the car and they leave the agency. Hours later. Liz, groan of pain my head. She wakes up in the bar, seeing that her friend had disappeared. Liz, getting the hangover. She checks her phone for the time and sees an email from her friend, telling her to come to her house when she wakes up. Liz. You don't let me rest. Midoriya's apartment. Knock knock. Inko opens it and sees that it's her best friend. Inko, hello Liz. Liz, yawns, could you tell me what happened? Why is the agency and my medical room destroyed? Inko, I'll explain it to you, come in. Inko tells Liz everything that happened at the agency. From the appearance of the biomechanical creature to the identity of this. Liz, wow. Inko, yes. I'm worried that my teacher or someone from the agency might know it was him. Liz, and where is the child? Inko, right now she's in her room resting. They continued talking for a few minutes, and then the door to Izuku's room opened. The green-haired man came out and saw the two women, causing Izuku to freak out and instinctively manifest a techno-arm. Inko, Izuku? Izuku, who are you? Sees his techno-arm, what is this? Inko, what are you talking about? Liz, wait Inko. Approaches Izuku cautiously, kid, do you remember your name? Who? Are you? Izuku, no worried. Liz was shocked by the answer, but Inko didn't hesitate and jumped to hug the green-haired boy. She began to sob into his shoulder. Minutes passed, and the three of them were sitting at the same table and Inko had already calmed down a bit. Liz, do you remember your name? Izuku, yes. It's Izuku. Liz, remember. Who gave it to you? Izuku, thinks for a few seconds and no. I don't remember. Liz, how strange. Inko, and. I and L. Inko, me. Remember? Izuku, I'm sorry miss, I don't remember you. Inko, she gets sad but then smiles, you are not a miss, I am your mother. Izuku, sorry, laughs nervously. As they talked for a bit, Liz ordered some food from a local restaurant. After the food arrived and was eaten, Izuku went to sleep, leaving the two women alone. Liz, so what are you going to do? Inko, you know what I'll do. Liz, sighs, okay. I'll see if I can get rid of the recordings. Inko, Liz excited by the help. Liz, but, only if. You let me be his aunt. Inko, what? Confused. Liz, I like the boy. Inko, Liz. Liz, okay, yeah. I think it's kind of cute, and I always wanted to be an aunt, but I was an only child, pout. Inko, hugs her friend. Izuku, Frustrated. It was dawn, and the sun's rays were streaming through Izuku's bedroom window, right into his eyes. The green-haired boy wanted to keep sleeping, but when he saw the time on his alarm clock, he decided to get up and go to the bathroom to clean up. Upon leaving, he walked towards the kitchen/dining room, where Inko was. Inko, good morning. Izuku, good morning, Mom. After serving and enjoying breakfast. Inko, Izuku. Izuku? Inko, can I ask you something? Izuku, of course. Inko, first of all, you have amnesia because you lost control of your quirk. Izuku, surprised, nervous, I see. Inko, that's why. I'm going to train you. Izuku, huh? Inko, I'll help you control your quirk, and fight. Believe me, you'll need it. Izuku, I understand, determined. Inko, okay. Tomorrow morning we'll go to a secret place in the mountains. Izuku, wait, in the mountains? Inko, nods, will be calmer there and you'll be able to train without limits. Izuku, I understand. But what about my studies? Inko, don't worry, Liz will take care of that. Izuku, Liz? Remember, sure? Inko, I understand your concern, but believe me, she is the right one for those things. Izuku, safe? Inko, nervous. They both rested and prepared everything for the trip. Inko reported the green-haired boy's situation to the school, and the teacher in charge of the course informed his students. Kaminari was surprised and worried about the green-haired boy. Kaminari, damn. At least say goodbye, friend, slightly sad. There they were, Inko and Izuku leaving the city, heading to the mountains, using a car. Izuku, Mom? Inko, yes? Izuku, what is this? Izuku and Inko had Liz as their driver. Liz, didn't he tell you? Izuku, what the? Inko, I don't do it. Covers Liz's mouth. Liz, laughing. Izuku, underscore. The trip was long. Liz told him Inko's few embarrassing anecdotes from when she was in school and when they worked together. Izuku listened attentively to Liz's words. After spending some time, and a few stops for food and bathroom breaks, the group arrived at the cabin. It had the classic wooden design, along with a power generator in a small storage room away from the house, due to the noise it makes when turned on. Inko, well, we'll be here for about a year. Izuku, I must admit this place looks good. Liz, it's true with a travel backpack. Izuku, staring at Liz. Liz, notices him? Smiles, messes up the green-haired boy. Your mom already told you. I'm the most suitable to teach you. Walks towards the generator. Let's chill the drinks. She shouted as she walked. Izuku, inhale exhale. This will be a difficult year. As the green-haired man said, so it was. His mornings began at 6 a.m. for training with Inko. Said training was based on running, carrying weights, combat simulation, and control over his quirk, after which he continued his studies. Despite her appearance and behavior, Liz knew how to be a rather demanding teacher. The days were difficult, and more so when the weather was hotter or colder than others, but something inside him told him that he should do it without declining. Despite not remembering anything, he felt that something like that should not be repeated. 3 months passed. It was difficult for Izuku to continue training. At this moment he was in the middle of a combat simulation. Izuku, Wa crashes into a tree. Inko, sighs, do you want to rest? Worried. Izuku, why yes, getting up. They both went to the cabin. Upon entering they saw Liz reading a book, sitting on the couch. Liz, hi. How did it go? The green-haired boy ignores Liz and goes to the kitchen to get something to drink. Liz, What's wrong? Inko, he's frustrated, although he doesn't show it. He sits on the same couch as Liz. Since we came he's done all the exercises and fights to the letter. Liz, so? Inko, I think it must be because he couldn't beat me in a fight with me. Liz, how childish. Inko, hey. Liz, why yes? Inko, don't think about hurtful things. Liz, how do you? Inko, you had it written all over your face. Liz, he nervous. They both continued talking, without noticing that the green-haired man came out of the cabin again. Izuku, see if Inko or Liz were watching her. Okay, let's try. The green-haired man concentrates, and after a few minutes. Izuku, metallic sounds, I did it, he says calmly and then gets excited. I did it. He was happy, he had managed to create his first land vehicle. Well, it didn't look like one, though. It was a scooter with a propulsion and levitation system. Its color scheme was green, silver, and gray. Izuku, okay, let's try it. The green-haired man tests it and it works. When he turns it on, the levitation system lifts the vehicle off the ground. Izuku accelerates, and despite being so large, he doesn't make any loud noises, not to mention his impressive speed. Izuku, GHHH, trying to keep his eyes open. Next time I'll use goggles. He decides to slow down a bit, just enough to keep his eyes open. After driving for several miles, he'd managed to get out of the forest and was about to turn back, but he noticed a fairly large town. Izuku, in a dilemma. He says a watch that Inko gave him. I think I have time. The green-haired man drives, now named Venti Mobile, but before he arrives, said vehicle disappears because he remembered his mother explaining to him about the use of quirks in public. Izuku walks through the village. It's pretty quiet. The green-haired boy notices several businesses and a family restaurant, which he decides to enter. The place is half full, but he manages to find an empty table. A young waiter approaches to take their order, and Izuku orders a milkshake. While waiting, Izuku decides to analyze his quirk a little. Izuku, it's strange. According to my mom, my quirk allows me to manifest machinery, but not create it. It's like it's already pre-installed. Thoughtful. He continued thinking about his quirk, not noticing that the young man had already arrived with his milkshake. Izuku was surprised and apologized to the young man. Before he could even try the drink, a group of boys abruptly opened the door. Those guys looked like bandits. None of the civilians moved a finger, not even the young waiter. Bandit, greater than B. B1, hey, why are you so quiet? He laughs mischievously. B2, approaches the waiter, you know what to do, mischievous smile. Waiter, why yes. The waiter goes to an office that was behind everything, and returns with a paper bag. Izuku stares at what was happening. B1, ha, thanks. Both bandits leave the place. Izuku, he touches the shoulder of a man who was sitting next to him. Excuse me sir, what just happened? Man, you must be new here. Those men work for a criminal called Venom, no Spider-Man XD. They've been here for weeks, and no hero could come to save. The man could not finish speaking as one of the bandits shot, grazing an ear. B2, mischievous laugh. So you're new, addressing Izuku. Izuku, yes. B2, you see, kid, to enter this town, or else. Takes out a knife and points it at Izuku's neck. Those present were scared, but B1 was laughing. But before he knew it, B2 was thrown through the window into the street. Izuku had a calm look in both techno arms. B1 was surprised, but reacted and took his gun and shot the green-haired boy. But Izuku placed one of his techno arms in front of him to block the bullet and quickly approached to grab B1's hand and squeezed, breaking the gun in the bandit's hand. B1 screams in pain, damn it. Angry. Izuku doesn't listen and pushes him out of the store. Both bandits escape. Waiter approaches Izuku. Thanks, but Izuku doesn't listen and uses some techno turbines to fly away from there, but he doesn't head for the mountains. Izuku, mom's going to scold me later, but I have to do this. The green-haired boy follows the thieves, who got into a car heading to who knows where. It was getting dark, and Izuku followed the car. Apparently wherever the destination was quite far away, but he had already arrived. It was an abandoned warehouse, far from any city. The green-haired boy approaches said warehouse, deactivating its turbines and putting them away to be more stealthy. After searching, he manages to find a hole in a wire fence, where he was not very closely watched. He approaches slowly and enters through a window and then hides behind some barrels. He noticed a group of bandits, about 20 or 30 of them. Some had quirks, but others didn't. Among them, a rather tall, slightly muscular man stood out. He had bracelets with tubes connected to a metallic orb on his back. Walks towards the bandits who fought with Izuku and the money. B1, here it is, hands him a paper bag. Takes the bag. What happened to him? B1, the civilians took up resistance. Hits B1, I'd better ask you directly. B2, a kid broke my hand. Everyone was surprised that he answered so easily, but then they laughed. A stomp from? Silenced them, and he then approached B2. B2, Venom? Venom, I don't allow weaklings here. B2, huh? Venom stabs B2 with a hidden dagger equipped in his bracers, leaving him badly wounded. Izuku almost screams but manages to cover his mouth in time. Izuku, damn, he shouted in his thoughts.